a fantastic day. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you to Social Bakers for having me. I'd like to invite up to the stage our panelists. We all saw their great presentations, and I think we're going to have an awesome discussion and hear all of their different perspectives. For you guys in the audience, we're doing the Slido, so please open that app, ask your questions, and we'll be sure to get to a few of them.
We're going to do...
Oh, go. It's been a long time.
Well, great job. It was so interesting to hear from all of you. So first question here, if I'm a brand, how do I determine if an influencer is a good fit for me?
Should anyone take it?
Yeah, anyone can take it.
I mean, I kind of said in my presentation, you have to really do your due diligence. So, you know, follow them for a few months, really know who they are and what brands that they naturally use and organically use. So I think that's the number one tip, in my opinion.
There's a really interesting approach that you can look at in terms of the persuasion profile of their audience. There's great work done by Dean Eccles and Moritz Kaplan on this stuff. You can look it up. Dean was on the data science at Facebook for years before he got a professorship at Cornell from that work. If you find a match there in terms of the kind of thing that really appeals, you got a better chance for sure.
I know, Ben, you had your whole presentation about this.
I'm going to say data, but that's because I'm an analyst anyway. But I'd say use the data because the data is there. You can use tools like social listening tools and social analytics tools to actually tell you whether a person is relevant to what you offer. You can tell whether a person has even talked about a product or your brand ever, and even what kind of sentiment they've talked about, you know, what kind of context have they mentioned that product. The same thing we did with Surface, the same things that I'm doing right now with We Are Social, the same thing I've done with all the brands I've worked for. So the data is out there around relevance is available. Make sure you've got the tools there to use it. And Social Bakers is one of them. So. Yeah.
And I know for our influencers on the panel, is there something that you guys look for when you're getting pitched?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot.
I wonder what we're looking for when we're getting pitched.
No, there's a lot. It has to be a good fit. We had a brand, the toy company that came to us recently, I won't say who they are, but they're one of the top toy companies, and they sent us a toy, they gave us the contract, it was good money, and we took it home, and for 3 hours we filmed this video and tried to get this toy. It was kind of one of those that you have to kind of figure out, like a STEM-related type toy, which we love STEM. But it was so difficult to do that Lincoln and 2 of his friends couldn't get it to work. So I put 2 of my employees, I'm like, you guys figure this out tonight, we're gonna come back tomorrow. They figured it out finally. We tried to do it, and Lincoln just said, Dad, I feel like if we do this video, we're totally gonna be sellouts. And I feel bad if any parents or if any kids tell their parents to go buy this toy, and so I don't wanna do it. So we called our manager, and we're like, we've never backed out of a contract before, but we don't feel right doing this product, even though it's good money. So we backed out, and I let a 12-year-old make that decision, which was really good. And so, yeah, it needs to be a good fit for your brand and who you are, and obviously for the company. Feel out a bunch of different influencers. Don't just pick one, but pick multiple influencers that you've used the data. There's a lot of data that we heard even from this morning. The tools are available, but then get to know the influencers, get to know their manager, and see if you feel like they're a good fit, and then move from there.
Yeah, so obviously I'm on the receiving end of that. So for me, it's the other way around. If I get approached by a brand, it's my job to persuade them, or my team's job to persuade them to work with me. So really what they look for is insights. So do the audience matches? Do the audience match? What are previous results of success? So that's what I will show them. I'll show them who my audience are, where they're from, and how I've worked with other brands and what the successes have been. And off the back of that, that brand will be more confident in working with me.
Great. Yeah, and I think going along with that, something that I've been hearing throughout the conference is, authenticity. How do you make sure that the message is authentic? Is there any secrets?
So in terms of authenticity, everyone says it, authenticity is key. And you don't, as an influencer, you don't want to lose your followers, you don't want to lose their trust. It's all about the trust with your followers. So With my clients, we look at every single opportunity and make sure it's authentic, because we've seen when they've done deals in the past and their followers just drop because they're like, sell out, you know? So I think it's the most important thing we look at when we receive branded, yeah, the brand reaches out.
Just as a general strategy, I love open innovation as an approach. So reach out to your audience and say, hey, how can we co-create this together? Because people get stoked about creating something with you, and people support what they create. And you'll get whole new insights into your own brand, your own products, your own services. It's worth it for the business intelligence alone. So, yeah.
I think it boils back down to relevance once again. Because again, I made the example earlier about the whole Android versus iPhone users, as in, oh hey, please, you know, we're this Android company, here's a phone, please tweet about it, and then they'll tweet about it from their iPhone or from their iPad. The most famous one that happened with was actually Oprah. So even Oprah is not, right, exactly. So I would say, like, definitely it boils down to relevance and, again, authenticity. Like, you can tell if someone, this is their kind of audience, this is how they behave, their profile. And again, I'm not trying to pitch Social Bakers. Social Bakers does that. So like with the feature that you guys have released earlier today, like, you can actually see what people are like, what audiences are like. And if you see that your brand doesn't align with them, just move on to the next one. Because trust me, people can detect when something is fake.
A lot of brands, a lot of YouTubers, like, they maybe will just do these one-off deals all the time. And just like we saw earlier with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and they had that NASCAR thing on there. I've used that example before where I've seen some influencers that they work with so many brands that it's hard to really know, like, who do they really like and who do they not like. And so I love a brand, like when we did a partnership with Nike, it was a year-long deal. And it gave us the opportunity to make multiple videos, to wear their clothes. There were not as many requirements on what we did, but Lincoln would wear Nike stuff because he's like, I love Nike stuff. And they would just send us free stuff and we'd wear it in our videos. But we had this deal with them. And it got to the point where when we get fan mail, we have a lot of 6-year-old to 14-year-old young boys that watch our channel that really relate to Lincoln and like the father-son relationship. So they'll draw fan art of our family. And Lincoln will be wearing, and they'll draw a Nike logo on his shirt. It's like that, and so they know that we love Nike and that we love that. And so I think that's a great thing to think about. If you find an influencer that you think fits all the metrics, that seems like a good fit, try not to do just like a one-off thing. Maybe think of 3 integrations that you can do so it really feels authentic to their fans. Like, yes, I love this product, I use it all the time, kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think that the audiences have got quite savvy to the fact that influencers are monetizing through brand deals. So I personally am not in the habit of trying to always disguise things and make it seem organic. I've done everything from, you know, long partnership collaborations with crisp brands to one-off shout-outs on my Instagram story. And I think the key is to have moderation and not to focus, not to keep on doing the same thing once you know it's annoying your audience. I do try and tie it in authentically. So now when I work with a brand on like a longer style video, I'll try not to be like, hey guys, and today I'm promoting this brand, but instead I'll do like, I'm doing one at the moment where I'm working with a laptop brand and I'm gonna make it appear through magic, like the laptop for students in London. So tying it in with my organic style of content. But again, I'm not opposed to the one-off shout out, that type of thing. At the end of the day, influencers are running businesses as well, and I think that the audiences know that.
Great. I think we talked about this a little bit throughout all of your presentations, but something that I'm sure our audience would want to know is measuring the return on investment with influencer marketing. Can you guys speak to that?
Yeah, that's always the number one question from brands. What's my ROI? Which, of course, it's meaningful. The hard part is, you know, you have to explain as an influencer. Sometimes there's not a direct ROI, and that's okay. Sometimes it's press coverage, sometimes it's exposure, sometimes it's just aligning with a cachet influencer. So that's, you know, I'm sure you guys can speak more to that, but it's kind of educating the brand that it doesn't all come down to dollars, it's marketing. So, you know, me being in PR for years, I was always fighting our clients like, PR does not translate to sales. It just doesn't. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So, yeah, I think explaining it in that way to the brand is the best way that I do it.
Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
I mentioned the Mercedes thing earlier. Like I don't know how many cars they sold because of our video. Like it's not, we can't even measure it. But we know that it increased their brand awareness, and it was a great positive video. They got a lot of coverage. But then there are products with like toy companies and like say Ancestry.com or 23andMe, or there's other ones that we have a direct link in there and it's trackable, and we're able to see, okay, they sold this much product in the first 30 days, and that's completely measurable. So I guess it depends on what kind of product you have and what kind of company you are, but and what type of integration you do. But there definitely are some that we've been able to see like exactly the number of sales they've been able to see through our link. That doesn't track even the ones they've done in the brick and mortar store, but yeah, I guess it just depends. But there is a way on some of them to track it.
Yeah, obviously it varies from brand agendas. Like often a big company like Coca-Cola, they're not too focused on that particular individual ROI because they're doing a million things, but maybe a small company will be trying to track the number of downloads, etc. But so varies from brand to brand.
To both Dan and Sarah's point, it depends also on the kind of marketing funnel you have. If it's a direct conversion and bam, people check out, that's a lot easier to track. But if it's the kind of thing where you want to see your audience is really good at filling the wide end of the funnel, for example, then you just want to track that segment of the funnel and make sure that you're generating your ROI there. There's another whole part of this if you're a company, which is all prices are psychological anyways. This is what behavioral economics is all about. And so if you just as a company decide, this is what I'm willing to pay for a view, this is what I'm willing to pay for a share, et cetera, and you set a price that makes sense to you, then you can at least very quickly track, am I paying more than I want or am I paying less than I want for working with this campaign?
Right, and that was going with what you were saying, Sarah, on your when you pitch a brand, say exactly what you want and be
Yes.
upfront about it.
Yeah.
Good tips. All right, why don't we
I'm loving the top one.
wow, we have, oh man, our top question here.
Who's
When
that
can we
directed?
see some magic?
Should we all go through and say, oh, it's me?
We all look at you, of course. Yeah.
Well, catch me upstairs. Yeah. Or, if you don't catch me upstairs, head over to Instagram, @JuliusTeam.
Yeah, oh. All right. Dan, what is your dream product to cut open?
You know, there's a lot of big things that we've looked at that would be fun. One of them I think would be really cool would be like a 747 airplane, like actually like cut it in half. And it would be fun to, not even like a magic way, just like actually sit in front of a plane and be like, how in the world are we gonna do this? And just, that's a part of our videos that I like the most, is that we cut open like a jawbreaker once, and it took me 4 different tools to finally do it. And I didn't like cut that out of the video. I wanted people to see that, yes, I'm very inept with tools, because they relate to that. They're like, yeah, if my dad did this, he'd be just as dumb as Dan is at cutting it open. And so, yeah, something like that would be great, like a giant airplane. Just let's figure it out and then see what's inside of it as we're doing it. Yeah.
And that's authenticity, right? All right. Okay. How does influence and influencers work for B2B brands? What about brands that don't have popular, cool products, which don't sell at the supermarket, but yet they need reputation, reach, and engagement? It's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, we have, one of the companies that we worked with a couple months ago was, what is their name? The big company in Lehigh, the analytics one. Adobe, they're huge. So Adobe, they're an awesome company. They do all kinds of stuff. One of the tools that they have is business to business, and it's selling data. It's like the data tools, similar to what we've been talking about at Social Bakers, but it's directly for these chief marketing officers, for the COOs of these Fortune 500 companies, to be able to look at their competition and see and break it all down. And so that's business to business product. And so they came up with a really fun tool for March Madness, which is like the big college basketball tournament, where they allowed anybody in the world to go in and use their tools. They opened it up to everybody so that you could use their tools to work on your bracket. So if you're like my wife that only picks the teams based off of which city she likes most, or what mascot she likes the most, she can go in and like use these tools and actually come up with a good bracket that makes sense. And so they came to us and they said, can you pitch this? And their goal of it was hopefully a family of like a chief operating officer of one of these big companies watches our video and is like, oh yeah, those guys came and pitched us for their software and for their data tools. That's pretty cool that they have this. We should give them a call and talk to them. So I don't know, come up with a creative way that works with an influencer and that like maybe, I mean, I know it was reaching to consumers, but I thought that was a really cool thing that Adobe did.
All right, well, before we wrap up, maybe each of you could leave the audience with just one best practice for influencer marketing or one tip.
Okay.
One
quick
best
tip.
practice.
For
Influencer marketing.
I'll jump in and say, please hire data analysts. Like they're there to be your sat-navs for the brand. And a lot of times, I have so many, like there's so many marketers and managers here and seniors and everything here, which is amazing, it's beautiful. It's a rainbow of marketers, it's great. However, a lot of these companies do not have a data analyst in-house. So oftentimes you will have questions like, how do I do this, how do I do that? Analysts are there to help answer those questions. Analysts are there to help give you the answers to those questions using data, using tools like Social Bakers, using tools like even competitors as well. But the one quick tip I will give you is make sure you've got someone in-house for that. We're now moving into uncertain times where we're not quite sure what's going to happen. And if you do not have an analyst in-house or through an agency who can help you with that, it's just kind of like going to an unknown destination without a sat-nav. Good luck with that. But we're there for that. We're there for you.
I want to hit on just one quick thing that Julius said during his talk was with Facebook. He's like, they have a share button. Try to think of like content that can be shareable. It's fun, it's authentic to the creator, but it's something that is shareable to your target audience. And so that's what I try to think about when I make a video. How can we get this shared within the group that does cars or likes nature with the rattlesnake rattle? And so as a brand, just make something super shareable with the content creator.
I wanted to say mass parallel A/B split testing, but you said that was too sciencey last
A little
night.
technical.
But basically, science it up. I mean, all of these things are experiments. The way you learn is from all the experiments that fail. So make sure that you've actually structured it like an experiment so you can learn something and you can harvest all that knowledge. I really liked your story about all the things you tried to make it work before it worked. And it was all of those things that actually taught you how to do it. And exactly, that's how you learn how to do magic of this kind as well as that kind. So,
I would say collaboration is my biggest tip, and it's about relationships and collaborating, and that's been our best partnerships we've ever had when it's a two-way street. And I think that's my biggest tip I can give anyone.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you to all of our panelists for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys.
All right.